Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plymouth Select Board of February 28th, 2023. Would you care to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, and the Board of Selectmen has been in executive session. Sorry we're a little late. Please forgive us. We are going to go right to public hearing. The Harbor House Restaurant LLC doing business of 71 Degrees West. Comprehensive Entertainment Group 1-3 Radio TV Live Entertainment. Common Victualers License. Sunday entertainment, live entertainment, early Sunday sales, 10 a.m., extension of hours to 1 a.m. Is there anyone that would like to be heard on this?
No, that's Mr. Hines.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right, hit your little,
A little green light.
Oh, there we go. Gotcha. How about now?
yep, we can hear you.
I'm smarter than I look, I promise. No, thanks for having us. So we are from 71 Degrees West, which was formerly Isaac's down on the waterfront, and we're thrilled to be coming back home to that location. I was driving here this evening and came to my mind that this is actually the fourth time that we've opened a restaurant in Plymouth. And by we, I mean my father, Kevin Hines here, dating back to the mid-1980s. So this is the fourth time, and the second time at this address on Water Street. So we're thrilled to be back in there. I remember I was personally 9 years old when we and my father opened it the first time with his partners. I think he was 40, and now 32, 33 years later, we're back in there. I'm 40, or 41 technically, and I know, and I have a little son, and we're walking through the construction just like I was with my father back in the 90s, 1990, and it's all come full circle. So we're thrilled to be in there. We currently, this will be our fifth restaurant in Hines Restaurant Group that we're operating now. You all know 42 North in Plymouth, and we opened that surprisingly 13 years ago, I think. Yeah, so it's been great down in Manomet, and we're now excited to be down on the waterfront. So that's kind of the backstory. We have another restaurant, two restaurants in Weymouth, one in Quincy. Now this will be the second one in Plymouth, and we're excited to get in there. So I'm going to let my father talk a little bit more about the plans.
Great.
How are you folks? My name's Kevin Hines. I'm the owner of the Hines Restaurant Group. It's been a long time. Started in 1981 at the old Paisanos, which earlier than that was the Outside Inn. 12 restaurants later, here we are. And we've started construction. We've gutted the entire establishment from right down to the studs. There's nothing left. Wiring, plumbing, ceiling, walls, windows are going in this week, the siding right after that. It's going to be a brand new building. And I'm here just to answer any questions you might have. I've been in the business for a very long time. It's about 50 some odd years. I don't know where it went, but here we are. And any questions you might have, I'd be glad to answer them.
Do the board members have any questions? Mr. Mahoney.
Kevin, I just want to congratulate you and your son on your success and everything you've put into this business in the last 4 decades of your life, and obviously, improving and reinvesting in this location is going to be a bonus for the community. So
I am broke again, by the way.
So what kind of timeline are we looking at before you have an opening night, and what kind of fare will be on the menu?
What we're trying to do is something different. Whenever I open a restaurant, I look at the community and see what they don't have. And they have plenty of seafood. So we looked at something that I think has been wanted for a long time here. And we're looking at high-end steak and seafood, something like Capital Grill, et cetera, and all our normal seafood fare. But you have to understand the community we're in, we can't charge Capital Grill prices. So we're looking at the same type of beef, et cetera, at half the price. And it's going to be a semi-upscale establishment. Everything is brand new, from furniture to lighting to walls to floors to just about everything. And I'm really looking forward to it. But you can't go way overboard and try to scare away the normal people like you and I. So with that being said, it's going to be a special, special place.
And was there a opening?
We're looking the end of April, 1st of May, in that vicinity, if
All right,
everything
so
goes
you're getting
everything goes
close.
right. Excuse me?
You're getting close.
We are, 2 months.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Mr. Quintal?
I just want to say that I've known Kevin's family and partners for a lot of years. I'm not going to go to the dates.
1981, Dick.
And I wish you the best. About how many jobs you figure you'll be creating in there?
There'll probably be about, all-inclusive, full-time, part-time, probably 100.
100 jobs,
Yeah.
yeah. You're going to do valet parking and stuff down?
We're still working on that, more than
Working on
likely, our derivative of valet. Yeah.
And I just want the people watching to know that 42 Degrees and the Hines family have always supported the Plymouth events such as 4th of July. Whenever they've reached out to Kevin, Kevin's helped them. And I don't sell Kevin vegetables, so you can all put that to sleep, okay?
We can talk.
So, that being said, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Quintal, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion. I just have one comment. I mean, Kevin sees us in there all the time. I love 42 North, and I think that just the quality of what you folks put out there is great, and I think you can go up against any restaurant in Boston.
Thank you, Betty.
So
Thank
I
you.
wish you really all the best, and I can't wait to be in there myself.
I appreciate it.
Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, the next order of business, gift of land on Bourne Road, AD Makepeace.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board, and staff. My name is Dan Gorsica. I'm the Red Brick Project Executive and Vice President of the 80 Makepeace Company. I'm also a lifelong resident of the town of Plymouth, where I reside here with my wife and my 4 children. Joining me this evening, we have Chief Foley, along with some members of the building committee. About a year ago, I was approached by then former Chief Ed Bradley with Chief Neil Foley and members of the building committee to discuss the fire department's need for some land for a new fire station in South Plymouth. As you all know, the 80 Makepeace Company has a long history of supporting the town of Plymouth with land conservation, traffic improvements, monetary donations, and more. And we are here this evening to extend another opportunity to help. The land we are presenting tonight is right on Bourne Road, near the Red Brook community. It's clouded in that area in red. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Foley to talk about the location a little bit more. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. First, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to Dan and the principals of 80 Makepeace. This has been a long process that we've gone through, but it never was a contentious process. They've been forthcoming right from the start of the conversations that they wanted to help, and they just wanted to know how they could best help. And that was really encouraging. Members of the building committee, Tim Grandy and David Peck, that are here tonight, also really just kept the conversation moving forward in a positive light. They were able to visit Station 4 a long time ago, and it was for several years now that we've identified the need that in the future we are going to have to address Station 4. It was built in 1977, and the community in that area looks vastly different than it does now, and I believe in another 10 years is going to look vastly different then. So this will allow the fire department to continue to have a foothold in this great neighborhood and to be able to continue to serve the residents of Plymouth as a whole, and especially in that area in the future. So we're really appreciative of this donation of land that 80 Makepeace is pledging to us. If you look at the the graphic, and you see the clouded area. To the left of that is a current solar field. To the right of that is residential addresses, and 216 Bourne Road is directly across from the plot of land that we've identified. It's a 2-acre lot that is fairly flat and should be, easier to build on than some of the other areas in that vicinity. Additionally, you can see that Bourne Road has a fairly good stretch of line of sight in that area. Currently, where the Bourne Road station is now, at 533 Bourne Road, the line of sight when pulling out of that station is virtually non-existent. It's very difficult for oncoming traffic to see the fire apparatus coming onto the roadway. We've had a lot of near misses over the years. Thankfully, that's it. But anybody who's been driving in that area knows that all of a sudden you just come upon a fire station. It's right there. This will give us much more better visibility and will be a safer location for us to operate out of. North of that is at around 178, I believe, Bourne Road is the South Elementary School, just to kind of give you a better idea of the location of this plot of land. And it's only about 1.5 miles north of the current location of Station 4. And it's really in the heart of the ongoing development of that area, with AD Makepeace being a large part of that, but there's several other developments going on as well. So that's basically the summary of the need and also the location of where we plan to locate a future fire station for the Bourne Road area.
Perfect. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Quintal?
The Bourne Road station, that is referred as the joke, the Bat Cave.
Correct.
Yeah, I must say, that station is well hidden, especially early evening.
The bats know where it is. Yeah.
But it's definitely needed. After a visit, I visited there Christmas Eve, and not this past Christmas, the Christmas before, and I went by that particular firehouse probably 3-4 times. Was getting aggravated. Siri and I weren't getting along at all. And, because, I don't know if it's that I couldn't see good, or I just couldn't find it, and I've been there before, and then there it was, so.
It's a unique station because it's outlined into a fairly remote area of Plymouth, but it covers approximately like 13 and a half square miles. So it has a very large coverage area. It's actually the 4th largest district out of the 7 districts in Plymouth that we cover. Additionally, the access into that area from any of our other stations is also limited just due to the road structures. There's not a lot of ways to get into this area. So one of the things that we're looking at is expanding it so that we could eventually have EMS coverage down there out of that station.
I was going to ask you that next.
Yep. And, possibly additional manning as well, just depending on what the need is in the future as we see the growth in the area.
Great. Thank you, and thanks to AD Makepeace for working with our community. It's nice to see.
Geez, last week we get $2.5 million. This week we get land. It's just every week we're getting something good. I like it. Anybody else?
Derek, I know at the last meeting, we talked about going to town meeting with we're talking about adjusting the policy so that the select board could, accept land. So in a situation like this, how's this process going to work?
Excuse me, if the bylaw had already passed, then this donation would come before the select board and you could accept this donation of land. And this is what I mentioned last week when we talked about this, that having a bylaw in place allows government to be a little bit more efficient. Not having that bylaw in place in this situation, we'd have to wait until October before the town could accept this land.
Right, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
If I could, just for a minute, I just wanted to personally thank Mr. Gorsica and the president of 80 Makepeace, Jim Kane, for this donation. You know, I've been here just about a year now, and I've had multiple conversations with Mr. Gorsica and Mr. Kane, and all those conversations were very productive. They've proven to be a very collaborative developer, and I look forward to working with them in the future. So again, Dan, we appreciate your efforts and give our thanks to Mr. Kane as well. Thank you.
If I could just add just one quick thing, the fire department's been looking to identify some land in this area for years. There was no available land in that area. And the fact that 80 Makepeace was able to come forward and work with us on this, it really was relieving, because we knew we needed to move, but we didn't have a place to go, and nobody wants to go and take land. So this was really very timely in the planning of the fire department for the future.
Well, Mr. Mahoney just said we need a picture. So, do we have a picture? Do
Picture
you want
time.
to take a picture?
Yeah.
Do we want to take 5 minutes and get a picture done? Take a break?
We can do it over here.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, now we will go on to license and administrative notes. We have everything in the packet as you see. I'd like to entertain a motion to move as a group. Do I have a motion?
Motion to move as a group.
Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Helm motioned, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. And next is public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment? No? No? Wow. Moving right along.
We do.
Oh,
Give me one moment. Patricia Edelman.
okay. You're muted.
Can you hear me now? I'm not muted.
We still can't hear you. Hold on.
She needs, Patricia, if you check the microphone setting on your computer, your microphone may actually be off.
Try it now.
You can hear me now?
I can hear you a little
A
bit.
little bit.
Okay.
Yell, Pat.
It was a question about when will the Bourne Road Fire Station be started?
Hold on, Pat. We can barely hear you. Hold on. I think there's something wrong with your connection, Pat.
Well, it's showing up in there. It's not translating over to here.
Hold on.
Hello? Hello?
Pat, can you hold on and we can come back to you in a little bit?
Sure. I'll type my question into chat.
do we have a question in the chat? Okay. Do we know what her question is? Okay. All right. Will anybody else for public comment? No. All right. Next order of business is the Plymouth 400. Mr. McKay.
Yeah, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. The last time I was in front of the board, I was a man dressed in a turkey outfit.
Oh, we remember.
Tonight, I'm just a turkey dressed in a man suit. But I wanted to go over with you where we are. Everybody knows we did a lot of planning for the 2020 commemoration of the 400th anniversary of the landing of Pilgrims. And unfortunately, a lot of that went up in smoke. At one point, we bragged about having hotel rooms booked from Connecticut to Maine, and we expected tons of tourists, and we expected the meals tax to go through the roof, and all that didn't happen. We did manage some programs after 2020, very limited, but tonight I want to talk about the legacy projects that are occurring as a result of that. So let me just run through this quickly. Anthony, I need some help here. Is it the top button?
It is not.
So why doesn't it go? Thank you. Anyway, there are basically 5 legacy projects that we're working on. One of them I talked about last fall, which is the Thanksgiving remailing program, where we get people involved in promoting things through the mail with a postal stamp on it that says, "Give thanks," and this is the site of the first Thanksgiving. The other program is the license plate program. We also had started a project on Coles Hill, Remembrance Park, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'll go through these in more detail, but I won't take a lot of time. We also have a project afoot to archive items that were created during the lead-up and including those that were generated in 2020. And that's a major project we're working on. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then we have Thanksgiving Day. So let me get right into this. The first legacy project we started talking about last fall had to do with the remailing project, which involved promoting Plymouth as the site of the first Thanksgiving. We started this in 2021. We had over 20,000 pieces go through the mailing system with the promotion of Plymouth as the site of the first Thanksgiving. Last year, we doubled that, and we had over 4,000 pieces mailed. We expect this to continue on, and we expect it to continue to grow, and it's a major promotion for Plymouth. It's a national project, and it's also an international project promoting Plymouth as the site of the first Thanksgiving. The second project that we're working on is the license plate program, and these are available now at the RMV. We started this in 2015, 18 years ago, 8 years ago, I'm sorry. What I have on the screen is a comparison of the Cape and Islands license plate program, which is the largest specialty license plate program in the Commonwealth. And they've been at it for 26 years. They raise over $1 million a year with their program that goes back to the communities and the organizations on Cape Cod and the surrounding area. By comparison to Cape Cod, we raise about $30,000 a year currently. And to date, since we started the program, we've raised over $200,000. Cape and Islands supports over 200 organizations. To date, we've supported about 6. Going forward, as we expand this program and the revenue keeps increasing, we expect to increase that substantially. Cape and Islands has over 11,000 CI license plates in service, promoting their particular area. Plymouth right now has over 3,000 in service, promoting the greater Plymouth area. And as John mentioned, the last time when we met, of the initial fee, $40 goes to Plymouth, the Plymouth organizations, and every 2 years upon renewal, we get another $40 out of it. So the current annual revenue generated by this program is $30,000 a year, and we're looking to increase that as we go forward. The Remembrance Park is on the top of Coles Hill. It's the only in-ground legacy project that we have. We started this in planning for this in 2018. We acquired the land. We decided to have people design the project. It was originally thought to have this commemorate and remember the Wampanoags, and they got wiped out 100% with a European plague that wiped out a lot of the native peoples from southern Maine to Rhode Island and into Connecticut. The only surviving Wampanoag from Plymouth was Squanto, and the only reason he survived is he was captured as a slave, taken to England, so he was not here when the epidemic went through. The other part of Remembrance Park was going to remember the pilgrims that came in 1620, and there was about 100+ people on the Mayflower, and in the first year, about 50% of those died. So Remembrance Park was going to and is going to commemorate the number of pilgrims that died the first year and the Wampanoags that basically got wiped out with the plague in about 1618, I think it was. Anyway, so we acquired the land, and as you know, in Plymouth on Coles Hill, you can't do anything unless you have an archaeological dig. So we started an archaeological dig, and we're waiting for the report from the archaeological dig. And I think the last time I was here, I mentioned that they found remains of a native village that goes back over 2,000 years. The archaeological dig report is being delayed because they've actually done some additional work and found native remains going back 3,000 years. So that's the good news, and we want to preserve all that information. A little bit of bad news is most of those archaeological finds that are really old are right underneath where we're going to have the walkway for the park. So we don't want to put concrete over it. So we've got to do some modifications of the park design to accommodate that. So everything is paid for except the actual building of what we're going to put in the park. So we need money for that. We're looking for additional support and fundraising. Part of the revenue from the license plates will go towards building this in-ground legacy project. What did I do wrong? Okay, thank you. Sorry about the confusion here. Yeah, this is all right. One of the other legacy projects we're working on is we're going to have displays of memorabilia both in the town hall and probably at the 1749 courthouse. And in the upper right-hand corner, you see a display that as you come out of the town manager's office, in the hall, there's a display showing artifacts from the Plymouth 400. And there's a banner like this that's displayed there. There's other things related to the license plate, which is now basically obsolete. We need to update it with current information. And there's other things in there, and there's paraphernalia that I have. I have a Plymouth 400 shirt on, and in the background, we have information on the Mayflower stamp that we produced, or the U.S. government produced. And those, thanks to everybody in this room, we did sell out, and there were none destroyed. So there are 28 million of those stamps that were produced. We also had the U.S. Mint do commemorative coins, and those are still available, but they're very, very pricey because they've stopped production. In addition to that, we have a scarf that was done for one of our events in the wintertime. We have little lapel pins that was done. We have some brochures that were created for the auction. When we started with the license plate, we reserved number 1 through 100 and plates like 2020 and 1620 to auction off. And that was a very successful auction. It raised over $106,000 for the events and things we did in 2020. License plate number 1 went for $10,000. License plate 1620 went for $10,000. So anyway, these are some of the things we want to collect from the public, if they have any, or businesses, so we can put in an archive so that people in the future can go to the museums and see things that we did in 2020. The other thing we've started to do is work with a project called Thanks for Giving, and this is another thing which will go on, and it was kicked off by the Plymouth 400. We're still trying to figure out exactly what we do to make this a lasting legacy project. So that's really all I have. I just wanted to give the board an update, and I also wanted to use this to ask the public to support us in terms of what we're doing for legacy projects, the license plate primarily. And secondly, if somebody has a banner or information related to what we did in 2020, don't throw it in the trash. Give it to us. I don't know if anybody was up at the Kingston Collection. They had a huge banner on the wall advertising Plymouth 2020. It was about the size of this wall in back of you. And I was anxious to get that for the archives. And they took it down, and I said, "Where'd you put it?" And they said, "In the dumpster." So one of the reasons I'm here tonight is if any business or any organization has paraphernalia related to the Plymouth 400, give it to us and let us make the decision of whether it should be archived or whether it should be put in the dumpster. So anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments?
George, you had a slide up there. You showed, I'm guessing it's too late, but you showed the 400th anniversary in Plymouth, the license plates of 3,000 people had signed up. Oh, great. So you're saying the Cape and Islands have over 11,000 in service, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying Plymouth Plate has 3,000. I don't understand the disparity in the 30,000 in revenue that we get and the million they get. I mean, is that really 300,000 or is it only 30? Seems like a big gap.
Well, we have some people that bid on low-numbered license plates and put them on their car for a while, and then they moved to Florida and they took their license plates with them, so they don't have to pay a renewal fee. So some of the disparity between our 3,000 plates and their 11,000 is actually, they've gone through, the first 10,000 If you look at a Cape and Islands license plate, most of them have CI. But now there are license plates out there that have IC. And the reason for that is they went through the first 10,000, and people wanted more. So they came up with a CI instead of an IC. I don't know, there are 2 plates out there. And so they are into the second 10,000 issued, of which, of that 20,000 possible, our estimate is that there's about 11,000 still in service. We're not quite at the point where I can make the direct comparison between the two.
Right, so you're saying a fair amount of our 3,000 aren't necessarily still in service?
Well, don't forget, most of it has gone out fairly recently. And so you don't get the renewals for 2 years on those. So it's a little bit of a problem trying to figure out exactly where they are. I've been concentrating on trying to get more out
Sure.
and not necessarily the numbers.
Okay, all right. Thanks, George. Again, great job as always.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else have any comments or questions? No? Thank you so much, George.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for all your hard work. Okay. Do you want to bring Ms. Edelman back? Or did you already address her question? No. Is she there? Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
We can.
We can.
Okay. I just wanted to know when the Bourne Road Fire Station would be built.
Built, so that's a very complicated question. There's a lot of variables that would come into play. Right now, we're looking on March 28th, Lynn Barrett, our finance director, is going to come in and do a presentation on the new revised updated capital improvement plan. So we'll get a better sense of when that building is programmed. But I can tell you that there's a few factors that we'll need to consider. Number one, what debt is coming off over the next 3 to 7 years? Because we can backfill the debt that's coming off with new debt for a new fire station. The other question we need to ask ourselves is, where is the school department with the replacement of an elementary school? Because timing is everything with that. Both of these structures would probably, in all likelihood, require a debt exclusion. So oftentimes we like to do debt exclusions together. So we would have to consider the timing on that as well. And then, lastly, just kind of forecasting our finances and where we're going to need to be. Right now, we don't have any room to incur additional debt as something as a $15 to $20 million build-out. So it's difficult to answer that question, but I would say no earlier than 3 years. I was talking to the chief prior to his departure, and he's hoping that we can come to town meeting possibly next April or next October, so sometime in 2024, just to ask for design money.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that it? Okay. So next we have committee appointments, and the first board up for an appointment is the Distinguished Visitors Board. Mr. Helm?
Madam Chair, before we move to consideration of candidates, I'd like to, given the interest that we had in the at-large seat, I would like to move to increase the at-large membership from 1 seat to 2 seats. This would bring the total committee membership to 8 seats, and that is a motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Helm, seconded by Mr. Quintel. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, so with the distinguished visitors, I think we don't even really have to go through any of it, because every board member that's on there will be put back on the board or new to the board, and I'll just read the names. Andrew Loretz, at large. Chris Talamo, at large. Len Levin, at large. Margie Burgess, at large. Sandra Almaguer, at large. Scott Coogan, at large. Matt Tavares, town meeting member. Evelyn Strawn, C. Plymouth designee. Paula Harris, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce. Kim Savory, School Committee designee. Steve Lyden, Visitor Services Board. And I will make a motion to add Mr. Helm as the Select Board designee.
Move it as presented.
Do we have a second for Select Board designee? Discussion?
Thank you, Harry.
This current motion is to make Mr. Helm
Yeah.
the designee for selectmen. Okay, yes.
Okay, and all the other names that I have read, congratulations, you're all part of the
Okay,
distinguished visitors.
Madam Chair, so that's my question. If there's 12 individuals here, the prior motion was to expand, I thought, the committee from 7 to 8. 2 of the 8 would have been at-large candidates.
Additionally, correct. So out of all these,
My motion was to, because we had 6 people interested in the at-large seat and only 1 seat, it seemed a good idea because of the interest to increase the number of seats from 1 to 2, not increase 6.
okay,
So I think we need to vote
Okay.
on 2 of these 6.
well, understood. So it's not these people that you put here as appointments, it's, okay. All right. So the first, are you going to keep track? Will you keep track?
Well, if
I mean,
we're going to
at-large
choose,
seats.
if we're going to choose 2 of the 6 at-large seats, I'd like to hear from some of these people if they're in the room.
Okay.
Or if they're zooming in remotely. Because some of
mean-
them might.
Can we just go down the line?
Yep, I'm going to go down the line. Mr. Loretz.
Hello. How are
Good
you?
morning, good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. So I'm Andy Loretz. I'm a music teacher at Plymouth South Middle School. I've worked with the Distinguished Visitors Committee since, I believe, 2017. I was originally appointed as a town meeting member prior to my move down to South Plymouth. And then I became one of the citizen at large positions. I helped chair the committee with the help of many of the people in this room. During the pandemic, we did kind of not have distinguished visitors, and the primary focus of the committee is the Shichigahama relationship. We maintained that relationship over the past 2-3 years through virtual delegations with students. We had 2 different virtual delegations attended by between 3 and 7 students in each delegation. It was a really successful experience. Our last delegation just wrapped up, and the students had a very positive experience getting to meet other students from Japan. We're already currently in the process of getting ready to send our first delegation back to Shichigahama this summer. It's been kind of a whirlwind, putting it all together and trying to make sure that we can continue this relationship now that things are opening up both here and in Shichigahama. And so I'd love to continue serving on the committee. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Talamo? I'm sorry, I hope I pronounced your name right.
Everybody has their own interpretation, so it's fine. Thank you, though. Yeah, my name is Chris Talamo. In my professional life, I run the International United Nations Association. I have not served on this committee before, but I saw that you were looking for applicants, and I figured that since in my professional life I do a lot of work with both teachers and students of this age group that this committee does a lot of work with, that I could lend a lot of those, cross-cultural communication skills and the connections that I've developed. I've been looking for a good way to contribute back to this town for a little bit now. When I saw this opportunity come through, it seemed like a good fit to me. So thought I'd throw my hat in the ring at the very least. But it seems like there's a lot of good support out there for this program. So I'm happy to take any questions you guys might have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Len Levin.
My name is Len Levin. I'm here before you to apply for the at-large position for the Distinguished Visitors Committee. I'm a new resident of Plymouth. I just moved here about a year and a half ago, and you probably could guess I live in the Pine Hills. It's interesting that I live in the Pine Hills because I started my career in the IT profession back in 1972, and I was working at DEC when DEC bought that land. And so now I find myself finally moving to the Pine Hills, but not working for DEC. Over the last 30 years, I've been self-employed as an IT consultant. One of the things I got to do during my career is travel the world, luckily, and I've been to many of the countries around the world, both professionally and personally. And I think that experience, my work experience, and my personal experience doing that traveling and being as part of this community would make me a good member of the Distinguished Visitors Committee. So I thanks for your time, and I hope you'll select me for the committee. So if you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Mahoney.
Len, just out of curiosity, DEC, Digital Electronics Corporation?
Digital Equipment Corporation.
Equipment, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're going to change that.
That's what I thought you did. Yeah.
Okay. Margie Burgess? She's here.
She was.
Was she?
No.
No.
I'm not looking for her, but.
Sandra Almager. Almager? Oh. Hello. Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
You're still muted.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I was trying to take myself off mute there. Thank you for pronouncing my last name correctly. Appreciate it.
Clearly by mistake, I'm sure.
No, you did well. Oh, I'm here to apply for Distinguished Visitors Committee because as you can tell from my accent, I'm originally from Africa. I have lived in Plymouth since 2019. I have been to 3 continents total, including America, Africa, and Europe. So I have done a little bit of traveling. Myself, I don't know if you are familiar with the J1 visa. That's what I came here with back then when maybe I would say 15 years ago. So I have experience in the area of how people can benefit from traveling from one country to another, learning different cultures, having different experiences, knowing people from different backgrounds, and really getting wiser and smarter in the process because, the experience is just really different. So when I saw this opportunity, I wanted to jump in and be part of something exciting, something that I know I'm familiar with. and professionally, I am a project manager for TD Bank, and I am also an entrepreneur. I would be interested in being part of this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love your accent, by the way.
Thank you.
Scott Coogan? No. So, one of the things the only seats that were challenged were the at-large seats. So the rest of the seats were Matt Tavares, Town Meeting, Evelyn Strawn, C. Plymouth, Paula Harris, Plymouth Area Chamber of Commerce, Kim Savory, School Committee Designee, Steve Lyden, Visitor Services Board Designee, and Select Board Member Designee. Well, that wasn't challenged, but, so those positions we can appoint. Also, I believe the board, there was some confusion at the original motion to only add an additional seat, and I don't know if you want me to make the motion, or you can make the motion, Mr. Quintal or Mr. Helm, because you do it? Harry, do it.
No, I can certainly move to, because we moved and passed, I'm going to move again to increase the at-large membership from 2 seats, because that's what we passed, to 6 seats. And one of the reasons being, I have a tough time choosing 2 people out of this group. I mean, me personally. I mean, and it's hard to, for something like this to, people who are interested in helping out are always welcome. So, anyway, that would once again increase the at-large membership from 2 to 6 seats.
So everyone that has applied for
Right.
the distinguished visitor would actually be seated. So, and I say the more the merrier.
So we have to have a second for that motion. Our clerk's going to demand it,
Second it?
and then vote it.
Nope, Mr. Quintal, go ahead. Seconded by Mr. Quintal. Discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Well, congratulations, all you people that I just listed. Ms. Savory. Sure, yeah, perfect. And if anybody wants to, yeah. And if anyone that has been appointed wants to get up and speak, please feel free to do so.
So we made, just a point of clarification, so we made a motion to go from 2 to 6. Do we need a subsequent motion to actually appoint those 6?
We just
Or
did.
all of them.
Oh, we could.
Oh, yeah.
We
Yeah, why
did
don't
that included in, that was all done in the same. You expanded, again, we went from 1 to 2, and then we went from 2 to 6, but do we then need a subsequent motion, Derek?
You would need a motion to take them as a slate of all the applicants that are listed on the agenda.
Do you want to make that motion, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve the 12 individuals that are put before us, certainly the 6 at-large seats, and then the other 6 that have their specific designations.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mahoney, seconded by Mr. Helm. Discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, go ahead.
Proceed.
All right, thank you, and congratulations to everybody. We're looking forward to helping you. For you helping us. There's been many times that there's been 1 or 2 people doing all of the arranging, so this is great. So the main goal, I found some documents from 2011 when the committee was still established, is Shishigahama. However, there have been other instances where we have entertained, provide funds for other travelers. The 400th was going to be a big one for us. We've had people from Italy that were connected with the Cordage. We've had people from Plymouth, England. We've even had people that are from the United States that might have come for certain reasons. People have come to us to request our help if we know that somebody distinguished is coming to Plymouth. Everyone asks us exactly what defines a distinguished visitor. It is a little bit vague, but we kind of talk about it in the committee and decide if it's something that we want to use our funds on. And the funds are contributed by the committees that are represented on here. So right now, we're excited. We didn't realize, we thought this was a year where they were going to come here because the last time we went there, but because it's Japan, and I work for a Japanese company, so I know that it's very black and white, and on the calendar it says this year we go there, so they're expecting us. We should have done all of this in December, so we're scrambling a little bit to get our delegation together. We have interviewed our students. We have chosen 10 out of 30 student applicants, and it's a town, not a school trip. So we opened it up to any Plymouth student that was a middle school, and we've chosen our 10. We're in the process, we're going to have an orientation for them on the 13th to start talking about what to expect, and we're in the process of picking our adult delegation as well. We have our chaperones, and we're just really looking forward to it. We're looking forward to all the help, anything that we can do, and just we're really excited to get rolling. I've been involved with the program. I got to go in 2013. I've been involved for a long time. I feel like they're my family. I did an interview with them Sunday night for their International Day. Their theme for International Day this year is Plymouth, Mass., America's Hometown. And I did an interview with them for their publication, just as they call me the bridge. So that's why they chose me, and I'm a descendant, so they wanted to ask me all these questions. It actually challenged my knowledge of Plymouth. But that's where we're going right now, and we do have a meeting coming up on next Thursday, so we will get all of your contact information, and I'll let, Andy's the current chair, and I'm very glad that he's on, because I think we would be in a lot of trouble if he wasn't, because he has been integral with the students. He's got that relationship with them, and he's done all the work with all the virtual delegation exchanges. Did you want to say anything?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mahon.
No.
Kim, so, here we are, we're on the other side of the pandemic, and I know this relationship was on hold for a while, and I'm glad that, we're starting it up again, and the delegation will go over. What's the status with Plymouth, England? In the past, I've been to some functions over here with some delegations have come over from Plymouth. I don't, has that just been gone dormant for the last few years? Is there anything?
No, actually, they were here very recently. So we do a lot of with the school, we do some exchanges with the music program and I believe the arts. And maybe Andy could maybe answer that question better, because he did work with them. They were here just a few months ago.
Yeah, I believe in November, in the fall.
Yeah, so do you want to talk about anything else?
So Plymouth, England, in my experience, we've done small things with the DVC with Plymouth, England. That has, like Kim said, been mostly through the school department, though, as opposed to the DVC. As a member of the Visual and Performing Arts faculty, most of that has been through our department. And kudos to Mr. Capel, the coordinator of that department, for keeping that side of things really up and running. There have been exchanges back and forth. In 2019, that was the last time that I believe the band students went over and got to go to Plymouth, England. There have been exchanges, like Kim referred to, this past fall. There were chorus students who came from Plymouth, England to here, Plymouth, Mass., and performed a whole concert, in fact, at Plymouth North High School. And so that relationship is still going strong. But like I said, it has mostly been through the school side of things. It hasn't really been fully within the purview of the DVC, recently at least. Yeah. Just to say thank you to the board for expanding this committee. Like Kim was mentioning, there's a lot of work that this committee does, and so to have all of these new helping hands, and especially all of these folks with great experience too, that is really exciting, and I think that's going to really, really help our relationships with international relationships or any other distinguished visitors. So thank you to the board for expanding our committee. It's truly appreciated. Yeah.
Great.
I'd like to thank Andy and Kim because they have been outstanding. Though these two have been there, if it wasn't for this program, I don't think it would be so successful. The other people I'd like to thank are the Select Board, the School Committee, and the Visitor Service Board who fund this program, because before this agreement was made, when someone came here, a distinguished visitor would come here, people would be running around trying to, get tickets for this, and it was just, we are a first-class town, and we should support people who come to this town. It's great for tourism. So I'd like to thank the Select Board and the Visitor Service Board and the School Department for funding this group. And it's a great program, and like I said, Kim and Andy, if it wasn't for them, I don't think this would be successful, so they deserve a lot of credit. Thank you.
Thank you. Just one quick, I know, Andy, you and I have communicated a little bit, and I know that it's time that we're going to have, it's going to be the town manager. I actually spoke with Mr. Mahoney, and he remembers 2 selectmen attending. So if that is what the plan is to move forward, then I think we as a board need to make some decisions sooner than later.
We, it's different each time. What we had done this year is we did 2 school committee members and 2 town members, and I know that Mr. Randisi has been asked to go as well. If you want to approve to send another select person, that's, I guess, up to you. That's not what we originally had decided on. We actually have to buy the tickets next week. They're very expensive right now, and they're getting more expensive. Also, our students need the time to plan and fundraise. But yes, we are still hoping that you have a designee to give us.
Is this a discussion that we want to have today? Because we do not meet for 2 weeks. Don't be shaking your head. What do you think?
Excuse me, could I add, it's very important if we could get a decision, so we could, we have to buy all the tickets, we buy for the students, we buy for the delegation that's going on, so the students pay for their own tickets, but they buy all the tickets as a group, and it would be a lot easier if we knew who was coming, so we could get all the tickets and make all the plans as a group. Thank you.
Well, it's the pleasure of the board how we want to proceed.
Kim and Andy and maybe Harry can weigh in. How are the finances of the committee? I know a decade ago we put in a pretty consistent funding mechanism, a 5-5-5, if you will, and I'm assuming in the last few years not a lot of revenue has probably come out of that account. Am I wrong? And
No, you're accurate. So yeah, it's still $5,000 per year from the school committee, from the select board, and from the Visitor Service Bureau. And so we've been lucky to have all 3 of those boards contribute even through the pandemic. So our account numbers do look high right now, but it is kind of, the way I explain it is feast or famine. It's a large amount of money right now because we have to purchase all of the tickets, and it will still be quite a large amount of money through this year. When they come to us next summer, that account is basically going to be dried up, essentially, because we're going to be the ones shelling out the money for their visits here. Hotels, transportation, things like that, that we do as the host. So right now, our account balance is about $76,000. And yeah, so that's where that stands.
so I'll just make one last comment, and this is from experience. And Mr. Quintal can probably back me up on this. So if you're going over in early August, late July, I mean, you have 5 to 6 months, but, you know, there's a lot of ceremonial stuff over there. There's an exchange of gifts, and, you know, Andy, I know you have the ability to think outside the box, but you don't want to leave that to the last minute.
Oh, we're already working on it.
Okay, got to look at multiple ideas and
Yep.
don't wait.
Yeah.
We're also working on some fundraiser ideas for the students to help alleviate the cost.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. We're also working with the students for fundraising. The tickets are I want to say, $3,500 and up right now. And it's just getting higher every day, which is why we really need to act as soon as possible. Also, the students need to start getting their passports and all their information together. But we have been working with them with some fundraising ideas to help raise some money so it's not such a burden to the families.
Great. So how does the board feel? We may not have the actual names of the selectmen today, unless you guys know that you want to go or you don't want to go. I do not. But how does it feel? Do you want to have 2 selectmen attend? Do you want to have 1 selectman attend?
Can I make just a quick point? I'm sorry. And a bit of an awkward point, so I'm sorry. They did only ask because of the pandemic, they wanted to keep the numbers very small this year. So they did ask for 2 town hall representatives. We did already have Derek, and so that would leave 1 spot for a select board member. Again, sorry. But it's just kind of how that worked out. Things aren't set in stone. So, you know, now would be the time to change anything if you wanted to. I just wanted to offer that piece of information.
Andrew, if I could, when you say town hall, that could be 2 selectmen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's appropriate to have the select board have 2 representatives.
Well, we think you should go.
They're actually excited to meet him,
Well, who wouldn't be?
right?
I think this, Madam Chair, I think this is a somewhat complicated discussion, where various members of the board are, because this is, you know, a week and it is a trip to the other side of the Pacific Ocean, you know, I think we should discuss this amongst ourselves. I'm not really sure statute or any other provision requires that we have this discussion in public. So I think we can just decide. I mean, just like it was decided that there would be 2 town hall representatives, we can decide. And I would like that time.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, congratulations,
Thank you.
everybody. That got appointed, and obviously, you know, a great thing to move forward.
Great.
And Mr. Quintal?
Thank you.
No, let me finish. You guys have a couple
Yeah.
questions. Andy, can you tell me how many school representatives are going with the 10 students?
Yeah. So there are 2 teacher chaperones, one from PCIS, Jackie Gervais, and JC Vino from PSMS. They're both teachers currently at those 2 schools. We'll also have 2 school committee members, so that I believe is Kim and Luis Pisano, and then the 2 town hall representatives, whoever that may be.
I don't consider us town hall representatives.
Well,
I consider us
town.
town.
I'm sorry,
Representatives,
yeah.
not town hall.
We had to represent just the town hall. This would be a
Right?
cakewalk.
No, I don't get it. Town representatives, yes.
Okay.
I
We'll
mean,
get back.
because with us, it could have been school, we asked the superintendent, and he wasn't, oh, sorry. We asked the superintendent, and he wasn't available to go. And normally, I wouldn't, they actually requested that I go, and I might be staying in a home instead of a hotel, because they said that, you know, I've been working with them for so long that was a request, so. And Luis hasn't gone. The school committee has a strict policy that during an election year, we can't do that. So it limited our choices. And Luis was very happy to go, and we're happy to have him.
Great. Okay. We'll give you a decision within the week.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Next is Climate Action Net Zero Advisory Committee. There are 3 at-large positions. And we have 4 candidates. Mr. Joe Fisher? Yes. Well, go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Joe Fisher. I have been a licensed architect for 9 years. I have my own business that specializes in custom residential houses with an emphasis on sustainability, resiliency, and occupant health. And I found out about this committee through kind of multiple channels, and it seemed like something that I would be interested in lending my experience and expertise to.
Great. Do we have any questions for Mr. Fisher? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marilyn Ross? No? Good. This is going to be a Marina Nicole.
She goes by Nikki, I believe, and she's live via Zoom.
Oh, hi. Nikki.
Hi.
Mickey.
Hi, yes.
Perfect.
I'm Marina Nicole Schultes. I also go by Nikki. And I have a master's of public health and with a specialization in environmental health science and policy. I currently work as a project manager with the computational epidemiology lab at Boston Children's Hospital, where I lead digital infectious disease surveillance tools and pandemic preparedness and response digital tools as well. And I'm interested in working with this committee because I'm really interested in the built environment and sustainability, specifically the intersection of the built environment and health. And I would love to be a part of this local effort focusing on sustainability and being able to bring that health perspective to the table as well.
Well, thank you very much, Mickey. I'm glad I didn't have to try to say your name again. Does the board have any questions? No. Thank you. And the next is Stephen Feldman.
Hi, I'm Steve Feldman. My wife, Beth, and I moved from Boston to Plymouth 7 years ago for a lifestyle change and because we love this area. And I'm really looking for a way to give back to the community. I've been a renovator of homes for that period of time and before, and I'm also a realtor in the community. I'm really looking for a means to lower emissions, not only on the homes that we renovate, but on other issues as well. And Beth serves on the Habitat for Plymouth. So this is my effort to figure out. I'm a very strong writer with strong marketing skills, so I really think that I could help this committee by getting the word out in a succinct, articulate fashion. So I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Feldman? Okay. Now we will take a vote. We have 3 votes. So, Mr. Fisher? 4 votes. Ms. Ross? No votes. Mickey? 4 votes. And Mr. Feldman? 4 votes. Well, congratulations, Joe, Mickey, and Stephen. Welcome to the Climate Action Net Zero Advisory Committee. Okay, now we have the Disabilities Commission. Heidi McCurtain? Yes, McCurtain.
Madam Chair, Heidi is not able to make it tonight, but she's still interested in the commission.
Okay. And Lisa Rice.
She's not on Zoom.
Okay.
Well, shall we vote?
We want to vote? Okay. Heidi McCurtain. 4 votes, and that's just 1 seat. Elderly and Disabled Tax Fund Committee, 3 at large, and there are 3 applicants. So it would be
Move all 3.
Second.
discussion. All those in favor? Perfect. Congratulations, Ms. King, Mr. Young, and Ms. Keenan. Manamet Village Steering Committee, there's 1 seat. Deborah Levitt.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Deborah Levitt. I have been working in Plymouth since 1987. I worked at the nuclear power plant from 1987 till 2019. So I have been involved in Plymouth and in Plymouth for a very long time. I moved to Plymouth in 2004. I live in Manamet, and I love Manamet. Manamet's a great little village. It's got so much to offer. Just a couple things that have been done recently. I love on Taylor Ave that they designated parking spots now for residents to park in, and that stickers are required. I like that there's more control on the 3rd and 4th of July festivities. I'm glad they still go on, though, because they're a lot of fun, and it's become more of a place where you can bring children to participate and watch, you know, the goings-on without being in fear that they would get injured or encounter too much crowd, the crowd control. I love what's going on in Manamet business-wise. We have a Dunkin' Donuts. Some places have 3 of them in the same little village. We have 1. I'm satisfied with that. We have the Lyden Street Coffee Shop. We have an upscale market now that's right up the street. The turkey place is always beautiful around Thanksgiving time. So there's a lot in Manamet that I think is really, really going well, and I want to be a part of that development and a part of that committee to be able to have input and be involved in it. Couple things that what I kind of see as maybe improvement is Manamet Plaza has a lot of vacancies. I'd love to see that populated again with businesses and more people coming into Manamet. Preservation of green spaces. The plant is eventually going to put a lot of property potentially on the market. I'd love to see it acquired for conservation land. I know that Wildlands Trust is looking at it and working with MEMBA, the New England Mountain Biking Association, because there's a lot of trails back there to try to acquire it, so I think that would be something I would like to get involved with as well. And just concern for the growth. Manamet is a village. I'd like to see it stay a village, not be overrun with too much development where it becomes like Quincy or Weymouth or some of the other places that are much more populated. So that's why I'd like to be appointed for this committee. Are there any questions?
Do we have any questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jeffrey Fielder?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I appreciate this opportunity. I'm interested in the Manamet Steering Committee for a couple of reasons. I moved to Manamet in 2014, so 8 years or so. I've seen, a lot of things in that period of time. One of the things I definitely am very concerned about is community preservation. I think it's very important that we maintain, as the previous speaker mentioned, the integrity and the feel of that community. Responsible development. Within my neighborhood, there was a tract of land, 5 acres. 3 homes were approved to be built on that 5 acres. Unfortunately, the developer of that land clear-cutted the entire property. It was horrible. So it created this big open space, which also created some issues for the neighbors in the area, because now the wind was coming through that space and toppling trees. Not a good situation. It's very unfortunate. I would not like to see that happen again. In the area of Manamet, there are a lot of coastal communities as well. Some of those neighborhoods are on soft bluffs with erosion issues. Within my own neighborhood, I've seen that. It's created a lot of problems. Some of those problems get very complicated because they involve public works and other entities, and that needs to be looked at because we want to preserve that ocean front, not just for the neighbors, but for everybody. I'd like to see, that property that is currently being taken over by the company that's managing this dismantling of the power plant. I'm concerned about, water discharge that's been talked about. Everyone may have heard about that. I'm very concerned about that, as well as what is going to become of that land. It's a lot of land. And, when is that land available? What is the best use of that land? I don't have the answer, but I would like to be part of that discussion. I would also like for us to consider, not just in the Manamet neighborhood, but beyond, is the issue with disposable nip bottles. Anybody that's ever walked around Plymouth on the side of the road to see those little bottles on the side of the road, it is just a disgrace. It is a terrible image for people to see that, right? I know that other communities have successfully banned those. I would like to definitely get, that at least discussed, because that is a problem that doesn't seem to be going away. I would, I care about what happens in this community. I live in Manamet. I've been there. I'd like to see, sustainable development, development that stays within sort of the character of the town in that village. Very, very interested in, contributing. I don't have any vested interest. I'm not a developer. I work in IT. I just want to give something back and contribute to the town. Thank you.
Any questions? No, thank you. No. Timothy Bennett?
Good evening. I wrote down some bullet points to keep myself from rambling and be conscious of your
It
time.
happens.
I appreciate the opportunity. I am a 32-year resident of Manamet. If we go based on longevity, I might have the win here. My family moved here in 1969. I was smaller then. I attended Manamet Elementary. I have one son who graduated from there last year, last year, and is now in 6th grade at PCIS. I have another son who's in 3rd grade at Manamet Elementary. In fact, my wife is treasurer of the Manamet Elementary Home School Association. Excuse me. I am a member of the board of directors of the Priscilla Beach Association, have been for 10 years, and I served as president for 4 years. I am currently at 10 years as a member of and I am the current acting chairman of the Plymouth Roads Advisory Committee. I was also a member of the first White Horse Beach Parking Committee in 2013, 2014. I'm an assistant scoutmaster and merit badge counselor of Troop 52 Manamet. You may have seen us out selling Christmas trees at Geller's this past Christmas. You may not think so to look at me, but I am also an avid mountain biker, and I am very much in favor of responsible community preservation. I'm a member of the Second Church of Plymouth in Manamet. I'm a member of the board of directors of the Plymouth Little League, Manamet. I'm a licensed professional land surveyor, have been for over 30 years. I own my own civil engineering firm for 10 years. I have a solid working familiarity with the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, the town engineering and DPW staff, and especially Conservation Commission and staff. I have read the Manamet Master Plan from 2014, the 2014 update, and I reviewed the available committee agendas and minutes of the past 2 years and found that many of the issues raised would be of the sort I feel I could provide a meaningful contribution to the community and to the committee. Thank you.
Sorry. John Keenan?
Madam Chair, John Keenan is on Zoom.
Okay.
John, you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I've lived in Plymouth for full-time for the last 4 years, bought my house down here about 8 years ago. I worked at the power plant for 25 years, and I'm interested in what goes on with Holtec and the dismantling of the plant. There's many things in the town that, you know, has to change, nothing drastic. And I know every place we live in, or every place I've lived in myself, things change over time, and you have to be able to accept certain things. I was on the Board of Appeals in the town of Everett for a number of years. And that's probably about it for me.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. Mr. Helm.
I guess this is, as is my wont this evening, I'd like to motion that we increase the membership of the Manomet Village Steering Committee by one additional seat, which means we would be appointing 2 seats tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
So what's the current makeup of this committee? Is it a 5, 7, or 9-member committee? And is it struggling to get people to show up? Are they struggling to get a quorum at their meetings?
Madam Chair, there are usually 7 members. There's tonight 1 vacancy that is on the agenda. I do not know any information as to if they have any difficulties reaching a quorum. That I did not speak to the chair or the vice chair regarding that.
Okay. Actually, the chairman just sent me a message that always is a full meeting. I can't read this, so you can take a look at that. I'm just thinking that if it's 7 and there's 1 vacancy, then it's 6 with 1 stays at 7. If we put in another one, it goes to 8.
That is correct, an even number.
She doesn't agree. She wants 1.
Okay. So, do you want to withdraw your motion?
Given a consultation with the chair of the Manomet Village Steering Committee, I'm going to withdraw my motion.
Okay. Do you withdraw your second, John? Dicky, I'm sorry. Okay, so now for the Manomet Village Steering Committee, we have 1 seat, Deborah Ann Levitt. Two, Jeffrey Fiedler. Timothy Bennett. 2. And John Keenan. 0. Okay.
So what do we do now?
You know what, I would hate to choose between Miss Levitt and Mr. Bennett. And you know what? I think we need to have a conversation with the chairman. I think we hold off on this appointment tonight and bring it back on the next agenda. Does the board have an issue with that? And hopefully you guys don't have an issue with it either, so. But thank you. And like I said, we'll bring it back. Anthony will notify you when it's going to be coming up. And not that you have to attend, but we need to have some type of consultation with the steering committee. So, but thank you for coming.
March 14th is the next scheduled select board meeting.
So we can put that on for March 14th?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Next order of business is 253 South Meadow Road, purchase and sale agreement.
Great, so you have the purchase and sale agreement. I think Mr. Brothers had reported over a month ago, through his efforts with working with our procurement office, that property went out to bid, as promised, last June, prior to the special town meeting. And the winning bidder came in at $1.2 million for 253 South Meadow Road. So thank you to Mr. Brothers and the procurement office for making that happen. So what's before you this evening is a purchase and sale agreement.
Any questions? Mr. Mahoney?
Derek, we have a purchase price of $1.2 million. I believe the proceeds, if the closing goes through, will go into the sale of real estate account.
That's right.
You don't, off the top of your head, do you know what the current balance in that account is?
I do not. I do not.
Okay, I
I
was
could
just
find
wondering,
out.
maybe at the, maybe 2 weeks from now at the next meeting, if you could update the board through the, you know, in your town
Yeah, we can
manager's
get that
report.
information prior to that meeting.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mahoney, seconded by Mr. Helm. Discussion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Town managers report.
Okay, so I just want to give the board an update as to where we're going with the printing and distribution of the proposed charter. So this document here is what will be sent. We went back out to seek quotes, as promised, at A&F. We were able to get the quote down from $75,000 to $65,000, so we saved $10,000. But in addition to saving $10,000, we're actually getting more product with the $65,000 purchase. So we will acquire 35,000 red line versions of this document. 28,000 of those will be mailed to each one of the homes here in town. The other 7,000 that are remaining will be left at various locations throughout town, so the library, Cal, here at Town Hall, and other places, other municipal buildings, so that folks could pick them up if they need to. And in addition to that, we will get 1,000 clean copies, so not a red line version. So if folks just want a clean copy, they can come to Town Hall and they can acquire those as well. So again, getting a little bit more for our acquisition, and we're saving $10,000 at the same time. So hopefully that puts to bed that conversation. In addition to that, I just wanted folks to be aware that since we will not convene prior to the PAC TV forum on the town proposed charter, on March 13th in this room, PAC TV is going to hold a symposium, and it's going to be made up of a number of different individuals. So 3 individuals from the Charter Commission itself, myself, the chair for A&F will be in attendance, our finance director will be in attendance, I believe Selectman Helm will be representing the select board, and 1 planning board member as well. Steve Bolton, I believe, will be representing the planning board. So that'll be the panel. There'll be a number of questions asked of the panel to try to provide more insight, more information to the voting body as to whether or not they want to vote this charter up or down. So moving on, one of the goals, as you recall, the board had set back last July was to really focus in on economic development and try to become a more business-friendly organization. And myself, coordinated by Lee Hartman, had a meeting about a month ago with a number of local business owners, small business owners, developers, and so forth. And they gave us a lot of good feedback. And one of the pieces that we learned from that conversation was about expedited permitting process. So we're looking at some of these recommendations, and I can tell you that the building commissioner, Nick Mayo, is already starting to implement some of these recommendations. So I mentioned in the past that we're going to go online with our permitting process, and now starting to roll out an expedited permitting process. So for a really small example, no longer if you wanted roof-mounted solar panels, you no longer have to go to the ZBA. That's a direct application to the building commissioner, and they'll take a look at that application and then provide any feedback. In the past, you'd have to go in front of the ZBA and through a public hearing, and it would take months to get your solar panels approved for an installation. So again, that's just one more goal that we're trying to move forward, in this case for expedited permitting. And then the last item I want to bring up, two more items I want to bring up. So the parents of our public school students received a message yesterday from the school superintendent. I wanted you to be aware that the message is that working with our police department and Chief Flynn, we have now installed safes, so gun safes, at our two secondary schools. These safes are stored in a location that only school administrators know and the police, law enforcement, school resource officers are aware of. In these safes, they will store weapons that they may need if there were to be an active shooter event. This program allows for a more coordinated and a more responsive effort if that case were to arrive versus having to go to their vehicles and use these weapons. So I just wanted you to be aware of that because you may get phone calls about why the police department's doing that. With all the events that have happened throughout the years at our public schools, I think that this is a really strong partnership with our PD working with the school department to make sure our staff and our students are safe at all times. And then last, I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that we have posted a notice for a public hearing to take place in this room on March 14th. At that public hearing, the board will consider increasing parking fines in those districts that require beach stickers. So I'm making this announcement publicly, so folks that are interested in that discussion can attend the March 14th Select Board meeting. Pending any questions, that's all I have for this evening.
Any questions for the town manager? No questions.
Derek, on the gun safe thing, am I correct in believing that the access to this safe will be police only, not
Yes.
teachers?
That's right. It's only accessible through our police department, in particular our school resource officers.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Derek. The next order of business is the Select Board, open discussion, new business, letters, old business. Anyone? Mr. Helm?
I'd like to bring up a piece of new business that's actually very old business. I would like to request at our next meeting that we have an agenda item to have a thorough discussion of the fishing shacks on Warren Avenue across from the old Burt's. Over my years here in town, I've watched them go from being somewhat in use to not in use to one being burnt down and to one now, if you drive by slowly and take a look, is about to collapse. And I feel that these are symbols of our history, of what we are as a community, and allowing them to just collapse in upon themselves, I think is inappropriate, and I think it's time that we had a public and thorough discussion of what we're going to do with those. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I had the opportunity to meet with 3 CPC members this past, last week actually, and the focus of the conversation was the dilapidated cabins that are located at Hedges Pond, and the town's intention on removing those structures because of the unsafe condition that they're in. During that discussion, I did ask the question to the 3 CPC members, what were the plan for these fishing shacks? And in addition, what is the plan for the storage structure located at Stevens Field, given the fact that we're going to be renovating Stevens Field soon? So, great idea, Mr. Helm. I think it would be important, and potentially we can invite CPC to come in and give us information as to what their goals are with those structures, because they've been sitting there for decades and really have provided no additional use or purpose.
Well, you know, if I have any say in it, I would really like the CPC to be here, because those have been in front of every single Plymouth resident for way too long, and I really doubt anybody, even very few people other than people who use Hedges Pond, know that there are some old camping cabins in the back, way back of Hedges Pond. So I would like the CPC to be here.
And while we're talking about, just 1 minute. Sorry, Everett, just 1 second. While we're talking about dilapidated buildings, let's talk about Burt's.
Yeah, I was going to say that as Harry was talking.
That's like way too over, it's way past, its expiration date is, we need to do something. It's hideous to look at, and I mean, it's shameful.
Might I make a suggestion for another agenda item? If we could have a discussion of nuisance properties.
Sure.
Because that's what it
And then
can't-
we can add the full sale to that, too.
Well, yeah, that's in general nuisance properties. So I would like.
Anybody else?
Anybody else have a neighbor? I would like the fishing shacks to be a separate discussion, please.
With CPC.
Thanks, yeah.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
Yep. Mr. Malaguti.
Everett Malaguti, Chair of the Natural Resources Committee. Thank you, Mr. Hellman, Mrs. Cavaco, for actually bringing this up. We've actually talked about this on the committee for at least the past couple of meetings. It's been brought up by members, and I do think it would be pertinent to actually have the CPC here, regardless if they want to come or not, because it was their task to use administrative funds to shore up the buildings in the past, to actually have some sort of a reuse plan, as was being talked about when this first came up. I think the first time they were talking about it maybe 6-7 years ago.
I was just getting on the board. I remember it.
And it was talked about some sort of a reuse, like what they had down, I think in Hyannis or something, with like the little artist shacks and stuff like that, but nothing ever materialized. So that I really do request that the CPC actually be present for that. And thank you, Betty, for actually bringing up the Bart's Restaurant, because that has also been another topic that we've been talking about, not just for the aesthetics, but also for potential for rejuvenation of that end of the beach, and also for possible additional parking or additional activities that could be done for the beach area for residents and tourists alike. So thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Mr. Mahoney.
To the board and to the town manager, I know there was a meeting today with respect to, I think the Lobstermen's Association got together with the state delegation. I believe the former Senate president attended, and numerous others in economic development, to talk about finding that balance between a small cruise ship coming into the new pier and minimizing any disruption to not only the lobstermen but any of the other industries we have. And I just want to, again, I don't think this point can be made enough. We need to get that pier, the other pier in the state park, yesterday. So I don't know I don't know what needs to be done. I believe we have a department head, or, Mr. Gould and others, and I think the state delegation is amenable. I know there was a state report years ago that said if they were going to divest themselves of one of these state piers, that would be one of them. So that should have been ours a long time ago, and I don't know if we ever, in the future, you need a formal vote, Mr. Town Manager, but that's something that, the state delegation should have at the top of the list for this community.
And you can add the DCR Park to that, too. Might as well.
Take it all.
One thing at a time.
So, but we definitely have had those conversations in the past 2 days. We had a meeting yesterday with the state delegation and Senator Murray. And again, they met separately with the Lobstermen Association today as well. And in those conversations, we all realized that in order to really make the harbor work, getting the DCR property is probably the best course of action. So state delegation is going to work with us to try to arrange for a meeting so we can engage the governor and I think really the lieutenant governor, who's the former mayor of Salem, who really understands coastal communities and their needs. So to get in front of them and express our interest in that property.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Do you have anything? I just have one thing, and I just want to say that I just sent Brad and Derek an email that I received from one of our commercial fishermen, mussel dragger. And this gentleman called me today. He was pretty upset. They blew a motor in their boat. It was trying to get them, like people to come, maintenance to come out to a mooring, and that wasn't working. They couldn't get anybody out there. So they hauled the boat. They've purchased new motors, but he was saying that he's being told by the Harbor Master Department that if he doesn't get his boat in the water quickly, that they were going to revoke his license. And I don't think that's something that we should be doing when it's literally a mechanical failure. And the way things have been going of getting parts and all this, I guess what I'm trying to say, and I hope I have support of the board, I don't want anybody's license revoked, especially someone that's dealing with mechanical failure. And if there's going to be a revocation, it has to come through this board. We approve the licenses, we revoke the licenses. So I did send you the email. Please communicate that with the harbor master and try to maybe reach out to this gentleman. And he's pretty upset about it. So he's afraid that that's his livelihood. So it's bad enough that he blew motors on his boat, but now, the threat of revoking his license is problematic.
We're happy to follow up.
Thank you. Okay. I know we all like to be here a little bit longer. Oh, polar plunge. One last thing. So.
Good news.
Good news is that we've had a fundraiser for the polar plunge, and we got the town manager to take a dive. But today, while we were in a joint meeting with some people, we convinced Mr. Quintal to add an additional $500, so Mr. Brothers would be joining the town manager in this polar plunge. So he hasn't agreed to it. What he doesn't know is he doesn't have a choice, because now there's $1,000 right there on those two.
Well, we were called out publicly a few weeks ago, so there's no way we could deny that request.
Well, but Brad is sitting there very quietly with his hand on his mouth, thinking they're not, she can't see me, she can't, but.
Brad
they do
didn't
see
attend
me.
that meeting, so he thought he got out of it.
So, but there is sponsorships for the polar plunge, and I think you're up to, was it $3,000 or something like that?
Pretty close.
And that will go to Jordan. or
Unless the
BID.
superintendent wants to jump in. If you want to reach out to the superintendent, I'll match him to jump in with you.
I think Brad can work on Mr. Campbell,
Yeah, I
having
think
him jump in the
Mr.
ocean.
Campbell would love to jump in, too.
You just keep putting those $500 bills out, and I'll get this whole crowd in there.
Easy.
So, and with that being said, we will be meeting on March 14th, and I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. Have a good week.